Hi, I'm George Pearson, and I'll be showing you my picks for the Photoshop Elements Top 10 Best Guided Edits. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and of course click on share. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I do several videos every single week, mostly on Photoshop Elements. And if you want to learn a lot more about how to use Photoshop Elements, especially all the more advanced stuff over there in the expert mode, take a look at my complete training course, and there's a link for that right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. Before we start this Photoshop Elements Top 10 Best Guided Edits, let me just explain to you what I was looking for in coming up with my top 10 list. I was looking for things that you can't easily do over in expert mode, where I prefer working most of the time, or things that are just quicker and easier over here inside of the guided edits, or things you just can't do over in expert mode. Now that got rid of a lot of the guided edits. For instance, everything here on basics you can do just as well over in expert mode, and usually much better quality as well. So it knocks all this stuff right off the list immediately. If we go over here to color, most things like enhance color, this is a real easy vibrance saturation trick. Removing a color cast is a simple one-step shot over there on the expert mode. Saturated film effect, that's just using two quick tricks, the remove haze and then a little bit of saturation control. So these are all easy to do kinds of effects. Whereas the Lomo camera has a few more things involved, so this is a pretty good one to add to this list because it does save you several steps. Now, one thing about these different top 10 I'll be talking about is that they can frequently be improved over in expert mode. And you always have an option to take your image over to expert mode to do a little bit of fine-tuning and tweaking. And I always recommend going ahead and doing that. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead now and start off taking a look at the top 10. We'll start with my number 10, which is this Lomo camera effect right here. It's fairly simple, as you can see, but it's a nice little quick effect. I'll use that down here on this picture. For all of these guided edits, you have to first select a picture. Notice that nice white outline down there. That's selected. Now that one's selected. So you need a picture selected before you can go ahead and do the effect. So load your pictures in first and then begin working on your effects. So there's our picture selected. Let's now click on the Lomo camera effect. And the best way to really understand how this is working is to change the view here to a before and after horizontal. You also can zoom out. Click on the zoom tool up here, hold the Alt key and click, and it backs you out. And take it out so you can see the whole picture. There you go. Now it's easy to compare exactly what's happening. Here's our before, that's the original. And let's apply the effect over here on the right hand side. Notice that we have two buttons in here, which means we actually have two different effects. There's a couple of effects happening here in the Lomo camera effect. So we're really doing three steps here at once, which makes it a bit easier than doing this over inside of expert mode. This can be done in expert mode, no problem, but this will save you time. Go ahead and click on the Lomo effect. You can see what happens in here. It's increased the contrast a bit. It's applied a yellow tone filter to this. So it's also done just a touch of sharpening as well. So it's applied three things in here. If you click it again, it does it even more. Use the Control-Z keyboard shortcut to back up one notch there. You can then apply a vignette, which is a darkening of your outer edges. There it is. Again, that's an easy effect over inside of expert mode, but when you combine it with everything else that's happening here, this is just easier to do this here inside of the guided edits, which is right here at the top. Once you've done that, once you've applied your effect, then come down here and there should be a next button, bottom right hand corner. Click on that, and that gives you options of what you want to do next. And one of those options is in expert, and I always recommend going over here to expert mode just in case you can improve things a little bit. So click on expert. There we go. Now in this case, you can't do anything else. This is one of my big problems with guided edits in general, is that they apply the effect, but you can't easily tweak the effect. You can see up here we have our original layer right here, and then our fixed layer right there. I can't tweak that effect. I can add more stuff to it, of course, now that I'm here inside of the expert mode, but I can't tweak that effect. So that's why this is at number 10. I like the effect. It's real easy to do. It saves me several steps inside of expert mode instead. So it's a nice one for the number 10 slot. Okay, let's just close this one down. I'm not going to bother saving that. And let's go back to guided and switch over here to our next picture right down here. And that finishes it off for the color section. Again, most of the rest of these are just easy to do over in expert mode anyway, so it's always better there if possible. Over here to the black and white. Doing a conversion to black and white, that's just simple in expert mode, so no reason to do that. This black and white with color pop, that's easy. Black and white selection, very similar to this one. Again, real easy to do over there inside of expert mode. Doing a line drawing is real easy. You know, the low key and high key, a few more steps on that. We'll look at the high key one, but I could have put these in here as a combined set for position number 9. Again, what this does is it combines a few steps in one, so it's just a little bit faster over here inside of the guided edit. Now, on all the rest of this stuff, like the line drawing, the color pop, that kind of stuff, convert to black and white, I have tutorials on the YouTube channel on how to do all of this stuff in expert mode, and you get a much better result over there. So in those, I'd recommend just going over to expert mode and doing that. And I have a playlist set up just for videos that are based on these guided edits, but are done over in expert mode. And there's a link for that, of course, in the description. This video is linked to that playlist. So let's take a look at this one here, the high key. Click on this. And again, this is one that's just easy to do here. Now, I prefer doing the high key in the color mode as opposed to the black and white. So click on color. There we go. And it's done several things on this one step. So it's given us quite a bit of work and saved us a lot of work for this high key effect. Notice it's a bit less saturated in here. Now come down here, add diffuse glow. Puts a nice glow in here as well, glowing effect. So again, real nice and very, very easy for this kind of a high key effect. Again, come down to where it says next, click on that. And let's take this over into expert mode. And you'll see here, we actually have some additional options up here. Here's your brightness contrast and a levels control. And for this one, it's nice if you have these additional options to then come in and tweak them a little bit. Let's just go here to the brightness contrast. Double click on the icon. That brings up your brightness contrast. We can bring our brightness down just a touch. Right about there. I think that's a much better image in here than they did. I'm just bringing the brightness down to, I'll set those both at 0 right there. I think that's a bit nicer. So there we go. Easy then to do a little bit of tweaking here after you've initially applied the effect. But again, this is one of those where it's done several steps for us very quickly, which saves us a lot of time. And a little bit of tweaking over here, and we're all set. Let's just close that one down and go back to the guided edits. Here we are. That also finishes off the black and white section. Let's now go over here to fun edits. Again, most of these can be more easily done, or at least done better, over inside of expert mode. Most of these also depend on making a selection. Like this makes a selection for the double exposure, and it puts one picture inside of that selection. This out of bounds makes a selection in here, and then puts changes the background in that selection. Whenever you have an image that relies on a selection, you get a much better job over in expert mode. Same thing with the photo text. Again, that's a selection using the text here as your selection. The shape overlay, you're really getting a selection out of that shape. All this stuff relies on a selection, and that's just better done in expert mode. There are, though, a couple of effects in here that are either very difficult or darn near impossible to do in expert mode. This is the pop art one right here. Not that useful potentially. The effects collage up here, very similar to the pop art. Notice that both of these are dividing your image up into sections and then placing effects on those sections. So on both of these, you can save a lot of time by doing this inside of the guided edits. Other one down here is the puzzle effect, which puts a puzzle onto your image and then pulls pieces out of that puzzle shape. Now there's a little demo right there with the pieces turned at angles. That actually was done in expert mode, and I'll show you how that's done in the next video. But this time, let's take a look at this one up here, the effects collage. Again, this is basically the same concept as the pop art, so they kind of work as a set. But we'll do this effects collage right here. Let's select a picture to use, and I have one over here down in the photo bin, and it's right there. We'll use that one. Again, select your picture first, and you can then apply your effect to that. And we'll do the effects collage right here. Bring this up. There's the original picture. We're looking at the after only, and that's fine. On this one, you first decide how many sections you want to divide this up into. We'll go ahead and we'll do 4 sections, give us the most. You can then choose the breakup on your sections. I'll choose this horizontal breakup, and it divides the image up into those sections, as you can see over here. You can go back and you can change this very easily. Just grab different sections like that. I'll just go ahead and stick with this one. There it is. Once you have the division made, this already would have saved you a lot of time. You can do this kind of dividing up over inside of expert mode, but there's quite a lot to it. So this is a time saver already. You can then choose a style for your collage down here, and there are quite a few to choose from, basically color and effects changes. Now on all of these, they will be applying colors and effects. Let's just go ahead and take a look at a few of these. This one's kind of a sepia tone thing, but notice that there is a tinting on here as well. So sepia toning plus some tinting. Let's go down to this one. There we go. And come down again. This is some more different tinting, stronger tinting this time. There it is, also some effects in here, kind of an old-fashioned effect look. Let's just scroll down a little bit further and let's grab that one. So you have all these different effects, and this has kind of a snow effect tossed on top. So kind of a seasons thing, which actually works out well for this particular picture. There's a fall, here's a spring, here's a winter, maybe that's summer and that's spring, something like that. Once you have decided and you're happy with this, you can come down and adjust the opacity. So they're actually putting these things in as a layer as well. Okay, once that's done, let's click on Next and go back to Expert Mode. And you'll see here, here's the original, here's the changed version. If I hide the effects, this is the lines that have been placed in here. That's our divisions. And then up here under Group, and you'll see the group if you have Photoshop Elements 15 or newer, you'll see that group, be able to actually work with that group. And it's come in and actually divided the picture up into several different layers in here with different effects applied to those different layers. So it's a lot of work in here. I could do this inside of Expert Mode, but this really saves me a lot of time. There's the whole picture fitting on the screen. So there you go. That's why that one comes in as my number 8 position. Let's just close that down. I won't bother saving that. Let's go back here to Guided Edits. Now for our next one is this puzzle effect. Let's just grab this guy right here. Bring him in. Again, he's selected. Click on Puzzle Effect. There's the original. You can choose the size you want for your puzzle pieces. I'll choose the large size. There we go. And it divides the picture up into these nice puzzles. Now you can put this on fairly easily inside of Expert Mode. The next one is very difficult to do in Expert. It can be done, but it's difficult. And that's to select a puzzle piece. I'm going to grab this one right here. I can then actually grab that, extract that piece. There it is. I can then pull it around and position it. Notice how it's staying vertical in here. So it's not giving me this twisty stuff that they show over here in the example. You see right there, they're kind of spun. But it is pulled out. Let's make another one. Another selected piece right here, and then extract that one. There we go. There's our extracted piece. I'll do a couple more of these up here, upper left-hand corner. Select, I'll grab that one right here, and then extract. You can see how they're stacking as well, so they're coming in on separate layers also in here. Let's just do one over here someplace just for variety's sake, and we'll extract that one and drop that over here. Okay, so now we have our puzzle pieces. Let's come down, click on the Next, and go over to Expert Mode. And in here, all these pieces are on separate layers right there. So it did a lot of work for us. Let's just zoom this out to fit on screen. That's good. I'll grab the Move tool. When you're on a layer, and you can see which one it is, just show and hide. Okay, that's that one right down there. I'll use the Control-T keyboard shortcut. That brings up my control handles. And now I can spin this thing a little bit. There we go. It looks better that way with a little bit of a twist to it. So I'll do that for each of these layers here. Control-T keyboard shortcut. Gives one a little spin right there. And then go through and just do some spinning, do some adjusting your position. It's all very easily done here inside of Expert Mode. So this is a good example of one of these guided edits that saves you a ton of work to start off with, and then you can come back and you can adjust things better after you've done the first step in guided, and then come in and do the additional stuff here inside of the Expert Mode. So there you go. That's that one. Now I want to use this picture again for another demo here in just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go up to Edit and come down to Revert right here. That puts it back to the original. Okay, back to our guided edits. There we are. And that takes care of our position 8 and position 7. Let's now go over here to Special Edits and take a look at my number 6 on my list of the 10 top best guided edits. And that's the frame maker or frame creator right here. It's pretty easy. You need to have a picture that can basically work as a frame. And the nice thing about this is it takes what you do here and actually places it over into your collection of frames in expert mode, which makes it easy to use it again in the future. Let me show you that one. So I'll click on my first picture right down here. This is something which I did last year for Christmas. Click on the frame creator. There's a picture. And I have a tutorial on how to do this, actually make this frame, put a picture inside of this frame. Again, this is one from last year. But real easy now to take this and convert this into a saved frame that can be used over and over again. I'll just grab the magic wand right here, and I'll click in the white space. That should give me a good selection. That looks good all around here. That looks fine. It's a little rough right down there. Let's fix that. I'll grab the polygonal lasso tool here, and then make sure we're set on subtract, and that's correct. And I'll just make a line straight across the bottom right there, and then down and around and back to the beginning point. And that just cleans up those little bits at the bottom. Okay, so there we go. We have our selected interior section. Then click on Create Frame. There we are. We can then save that frame. Now what this does is it saves it over into the Frames section in expert mode. Click on Save Frame. Give it a name. That's just the name of the file. I'll use that one. It's now being saved over there, which then allows us to use this over and over again. Okay, that's done. Let's go over to Expert. And here we go. There's the frame. And I can then put any picture I want right inside of here. Let me just show you that real fast. Go to the photo bin here. Let's just grab this guy again, drop him in. There we go. And it puts him inside of that frame. It's that easy to do. Let's just undo that. There we go. Now, I mentioned that this is now in our saved frames. So if you're over here on Graphics, there's the Layers tab right here. Here's the Graphics tab. And go up here to By Type and Frames. Let's just set this to Show All. And you'll find it right there at the top of all of your frames. If you've been making any frames, you'll find them here saved under My Frames. And this is now saved with the program. So whenever I open this back up again, I can always go back to Frames right here, and I'll find my frames in the upper section of this frames list. So again, this is something which is real easy to do the basic kind of frame here inside of Photoshop Elements in the expert mode, which is how I did this tutorial initially. But if you want it to show up over here inside of your list of frames, that has to be done over in Guided Edits. Okay, so that's my number 6 in my top 10. Let's now go back to the Guided Edits again. Everything else is over here on Photomerge, the Photomerge section. And this is not that surprising because Photomerge used to be part of the expert mode. So these really are top-notch, top-of-the-line effects over here on Photomerge. And some of these I use fairly frequently. So this is a very, very useful section on the Photomerge. And these are things that it's really difficult to do, if not impossible, over in expert mode. Let's take a look at a few of these. The first one's kind of fun, and that's that group shot down here. The basic idea here is if you have several shots of the same group, you're taking 2 or 3 shots at once, always a good idea anyway. But in case in some shots somebody's blinking or somebody laughs or is frowning or something, you can change that to the better picture and combine them all into one shot. So it's allowing you to kind of clean up these group shots. I have a funny way to use this though. That's my set of pictures right down here. It's a couch with a stuffed penguin on it. And I moved the penguin around for each of these different shots. Same basic concept. I have one basic shot and I'm choosing different parts of the different ones to make a new combined shot. So you see how that works. I'll just hold the control key down and click on all 5 of those. They're all now selected. In this case, the camera was sitting on a tripod so that the image is really consistent. You can do this with a handheld shot, and Photoshop Elements will try to align your images as best as it possibly can, and it's very good at doing those alignments. But if you can, take these shots with a tripod. If you can't, try to make them as close as possible to each other. It's always a good idea if you're doing this kind of picture up here, pictures of family, whatever, take 3 or 4 shots and just take them very, very close together and don't move when you take them, and that gives you some opportunity to come in and fix problems if you have any. We'll go ahead, we'll use these 5 down here. Click on the Photomerge group shot. It's going to go through, find the pictures, it's going to look at all the pictures and then align them. Now the first step over here is to decide which one you want to have as your main picture. In this case it doesn't really matter. I'll just grab my middle one here and pull it over here to the right hand side. This becomes the base picture. Now on the left hand side, just double click on a picture over here. It opens that picture up here on the left hand side, and then here's our base picture right hand side. We'll be copying things from this side over here. Just imagine if this is a group of people in here and everything looked good except for one person was blinking right here. Over here you have the same shot. In this case they weren't blinking. You can then copy their head from here and place it over here. Exact same concept. The way you do this is we'll grab the pencil tool, and I'm just going to draw a little line right around. You can actually be right on the image like that. It's going to go a little ways outside of that. Then it copies this bit and places that copy bit over here. Let's now double click on our next picture, and you can see there was where the original one was. Let's copy this penguin out here. There he is. That's our middle one, so let's go over here next, double click. Let's copy this guy out right here. He brings that over, there it is. And then final one, let's just copy this guy right here. And here he is on the right hand side. So you can see how easy this works. This can be done over inside of expert mode, but it's a bit more work. There are 2 things that are happening here that are really important in the guided edits. The first one is that Photoshop Elements goes through and aligns all the pictures together so they're all lined up exactly. You can do that in expert mode, but it can take you a long time to get them perfectly aligned. It's all done automatically in here. That alone is worth working this in the guided edits. Other one is that it's going to go through and try to adjust the values for a perfect match as well. Again, that's something which you can do in expert mode, but it's a lot of work. So this is really much better if it's done here in the guided edits. Once we're done, let's click on Next. And in Expert, right there, let's go back to our layers again. You can see this one comes in as just one layer right there. So I can't go back and do any adjustments after the fact here, but it doesn't really need them. That looks really nice. Instead of just one penguin, I now have 5 on that couch. Okay, let's go back here to the guided edits once more and take a look at our next one, which is kind of a strange one, the Photomerge faces, but it is interesting. Now for this guided edit, we'll need 2 pictures. It's kind of like this one here where we're taking part of one and putting it onto another. Similar idea, but there's another little trick on that one. So 2 pictures, and they're right down here. This one and Control key and that one, those 2 pictures. And notice they're very, very similar in here, similar in size pretty much. And you want to have that for this particular effect. And you want to have a nice large face for this to work out well. This doesn't work out well if it's a small face, in a large group. Like this would not work out well for the changed faces. But individual pictures do work out pretty well on this one. You also want them facing the same direction as much as possible. So slight head tilt here, that's okay. But you want them facing the same direction. Okay, that's taken care of. Let's click on the Photomerge faces and bring this one up. I want to have over here our base image, and I want the guy for the base image. I'll just drag that in there. There's our base image. Double click on the other image. Now, here's the trick that makes this really worth it inside of the guided edits, and that's the alignment tool. This saves you all kinds of work. I can do the exact same thing over in expert mode, but the alignment really saves you a lot of time. You get these 3 spots. So we align these to 3 spots in your picture. I'd like to choose the center of the eyes. Here's our first one. There's the second one right here. And then on this, I like going for the middle of the mouth. That seems to work out best. So the middle of the mouth is right about there, it looks like, right there. Okay, come over to this side, exact same thing. Put these on the middle of the eyes. There we go. If you need to be really exact, you can zoom in a little bit on this. There's a zoom tool up here, and you can zoom in to be really precise on this. And let's put this in the middle of the mouth again right here. what it's going to do is it's going to warp this image to fit on those spots. Let's now align the photos. There it is. It made her a little bit taller, as you can see in here. But I think that works out okay. It's now going to fit this exactly. Now take the pencil tool, and with the pencil tool, come in here and make a line around the parts that you want. Now, one thing about this is it tends to take more than you're selecting. It tries to find edges. So come in and be fairly close on what you want it to bring in. Do it kind of like that. The closer you are, the better this is actually going to work for you. It then copies that and aligns it over here on the right-hand side. Real strange look, as you can see. Now, we do have the side of her face right there. That's this side right in here. That's showing up. I'll need to fix that. That can be done in expert mode. The important part about this guided edit is that alignment tool right there. That really makes this much, much easier. Okay, click on Next. Let it figure that out. And then go back to in Expert over here. Notice it comes in as a merged layer right there. So there's the original. Here's our merged layer. To blend this better, I need to come in here and take care of that edge right there. Maybe softening it down. Maybe a little bit of an eraser or something in here to kind of soften that up to blend that in a bit better. But there you go. Kind of strange, as I said, but works out very well inside of this guided edit. And again, that's that one right here. The very strange Photomerge faces, but it does a good job. And especially that alignment trick really makes it much easier here than it would be over in Expert. The next trick here is the Photomerge Scene Cleaner. And this is similar to these two in that it is going to align your images and then allow you to copy parts of one or more pictures onto another picture. Let's see how that one's done. Now over here I have these two shots. I'll use the Control key and select both of those and click on the Photomerge Scene Cleaner. And here we go. Now again, take the one you want to have as your base image. I'll use this one, just drag it up here. There's my base image. And you can see how it's kind of odd looking in here. It's come in and it's aligned these pictures together so that this whole part now matches on both of them. But we have extra stuff in here. Now I want to get rid of the people on this side. Luckily over here there are big areas in here where it's clean. I can copy the clean parts over here and paste them onto the section over here. Let's see how that's done. Just take the pencil tool, take a look at your image and try to see where this is. Now this person is right at the base of this column right there. So I'm going to come over here. Here's the base of the column. I'm going to just draw a bit like that. It's going to copy this bit and place it over here. Notice it also extended the image a little bit when it did that. It's a bit blurry and messy, so that's not really great, but we'll fix that as a final step. But it came in here and it got rid of her very nicely by copying from this picture over to here. Let's do this one. Here's a guy right back there. It's kind of the bottom left-hand corner right in here. I'll just do just a little bit just like that. That should get him. There he is. It's a person right here. And he's right in front of this column base. So like right in there. Let's take that. That cleans him out. Then we have these two people inside here right by the bushes. You can fix that as well. And they're right over here. So let's copy this bit out. And that brings that over in here. So there it is, nicely cleaned out by copying the clean parts of one image over onto your second image. Now you can use more than two images for this. If I had 3 or 4 or 5 images and only parts worked on each one, I could have done that. Luckily in this case I had clean spots on this one image that matched all the spots I needed to clean on the second image. Once you're done, let's take this over to Next. And again, let's take this out to in Expert. Right here, let's just fit on screen. There we go. And as you can see, it comes in as a merged layer. So I can't do anything else with that layer, but I can come in and use the crop tool to clean things up. Get rid of this right-hand side white, fix the bottom and the left-hand side. So use our crop tool, which is right here. And I'll set the crop at no restriction. And then let's just find where the bad spots are. Right about, I think it's pretty good right here. At the bottom, looks like that's pretty good there. Right-hand side is way out here somewhere. There it is. And the top goes clear to the top. Click on the green check mark. Okay, missed the top just a little bit. We can fix that. Again, let's go back to the crop tool. No restriction. I'll come outside the bottom left-hand corner and I'll pull a crop into the top like that. and then green check mark. And there we go. There's our nicely cleaned out and cropped image. And it looks like we took this picture when there was nobody here inside of the picture. And again, that's one of those things that is best done with the guided edit. And the reason for that is the first thing it does is it goes through and it compares the two or more images and then aligns them all together, making it real easy to do that cleanup. My number 2 choice here is the Photomerge exposure. What this does is it allows you to merge 2 or more pictures together to get the best overall exposure. It's actually what's known as a high dynamic range image. Down here I have 3 pictures. These are all of a table in my dining room. The left-hand picture was exposed for the outside of the window, and that was too dark inside. Middle exposure, kind of middle exposure range on this one, and the right hand was a real light exposure. Same shot. Camera was on a tripod for this, which always improves this, but different exposure settings. We'll use the Photomerge exposure to merge all of these together into one picture. Again, this is something which is very difficult to do in expert mode, easy to do here with the Photomerge exposure. Same trick, I'll hold the control key down, grab all 3 of these, click on our exposure, and bring this one up. It's aligning our images in there. It's now looking at the source images and it's figuring out what the best exposure is. And there we go, it looks really nice. So we have good exposure for outside of the window. We have a nice exposure for inside of the room as well, and it's all taken from these different images. If you uncheck an image down here, you can see how it looks with just those 2 selected. Here's with our brights brought back in again. So again, this is something which I could do if I wanted to put a lot of work into this over in expert mode, but it's so easy here. This really is the best way to do this. Now you can come down here and adjust things. I can tweak my highlights if I wanted to bring the highlights up or down a little bit. I can do the same kind of tweaking in here for the shadows and for the saturation. So you have some control afterwards in here as well. I recommend staying on the automatic side. You can do things manually, but you'll find the automatic just works better. Again, this is one of those things where the guided edits really is great. Once you're done here, click on Next. It builds that combined image for you, and then we'll take this over into expert mode and see exactly what has happened. So we're seeing a preview, and now we're seeing the combined image. Click on Expert, and here we go. There's the original first image, and here is the new combined image. Let's just take this to fit on screen. There it is. Again, really nice tool and the best way to get these high dynamic range images, which in many cases is the only way to get a shot like this where it works. You need a different exposure for what's outside and a separate exposure for what's inside, and then allow Photoshop Elements to merge those together. Okay, time now for the number 1 best guided edit. It's a final one down here, the Photomerge Panorama. For this I have some more pictures. Let's come down here, and I have these 5 shots right down here. Same trick again, I'll hold the control key down and click on each one of those so they're all selected. Look for that white outline, and then click on Photomerge Panorama. You have some options in here. Now it's thinking about it for a minute, but we can work on this while it's thinking. We have several options in here. There's an auto panorama, perspective, cylindrical, spherical, collage, or reposition. I found that in most cases the auto panorama works out the best on this. There are some additional settings down here. You can blend the images together. You can remove any vignetting effect. I don't have any vignetting, so I can ignore that. You might get vignetting, that's where it's darkening on your corners if you're using a lens shade or something. Geometric distortion correction, let's go ahead and choose that one. And then content aware fill, transparent areas. This one's a good one to have selected, because as it puts these together, it's going to make a longer panorama, and it's going to have big empty spots if you don't have that checked. Okay, we're all set. Click on Create Panorama right down here, and we'll let it think this thing through. And it takes a little bit of time for it to do this. As you can see, it's going through pretty fast. It combines all the images, finds the overlapping areas in the images. You see there it has now made 5 layers, and it has positioned these to fit those layers, and then there's our final panorama. And it's absolutely beautiful in there. Notice the selection up here. That's the area that was clear, and down across the bottom down here and over here. That was clear, and has used the content aware fill to create new image area, new image content to fill in those areas and make it a nice complete panorama. Let's take a look at this over in expert mode. You can see what it's done here. It has aligned all of the images. You can see on the layers over here, it's aligned all the images. They all had overlaps. I put a lot of overlap, about half of the picture each time, a big overlap, which really helps on this. It aligned them up. It found the best parts of each one and made a layer mask showing just that best part of each picture to give us the overall panorama. And then it used that content aware fill to fill in the missing stuff in there. And again, as you can see, this is something which would be exceedingly difficult to do a good job by hand. I could possibly do it, but I've been doing this, for years and years and years. I wouldn't want to. It's so easy to do this in guided edit. There's no reason to even bother with this in expert mode. Let's just hide that selection. Deselect. There we go. And this is just one of the nicest things you can do here inside of Photoshop Elements. And it gives you these beautiful wide shots, which you just can't take with a regular camera. You really want to see the whole, get the whole sense of everything. This happens to be the Calico Ghost Town in California. Real nice sense of almost the whole ghost town here. We're almost at the top up here. We're almost down to the bottom down there. You can see the whole thing built from those 5 photographs and nicely brought together with that panorama. And that's right down here, the Photomerge panorama tool. Now again, all of these things used to be over in expert mode, but you'll now find them here inside of the guided edits. So there you go. That's my personal pick for the top 10 best guided edits in Photoshop Elements. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also click on share and share with your friends. Make sure you subscribe as well so you won't miss on any videos in the future. And if you want to learn how to use the whole Photoshop Elements program, not just a few things that I show here on my YouTube videos, but the whole program, take a look at my complete training course, and there's a link for that right down there in the description.